Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker. I'm an author, producer, 2-time Emmy Award winner, and host of That Girl the Podcast. Each week, I bring on inspiring people and stories to help you become that girl or that guy in your life. That Girl the Podcast is based on the romantic comedy That Girl a Novel, which is now available as a podcast to listen to. Listen to each chapter about finding yourself and adulting in LA. Find That Girl a Novel everywhere you listen to your podcasts. You can also find it on Amazon to buy the Kindle or paperback of. For more, find us at thatgirlthepodcast.com and follow us on Instagram at thatgirlthepodcast and our Patreon page. Welcome, Sara Totten, to That Girl the Podcast. Welcome back, my dear. She is the host of the Good, the Bad, and the Ghosted podcast. She is a frequent guest of my podcast, and she's an overall awesome, wonderful woman. We're going to talk about, you're very welcome. We're going to talk about a subject that is dear to your heart, something that I don't know too much about. I'm going to let you lead this one. We're going to talk about fetishes today and all kinds of
I don't
things.
be saying it's dear to my heart, and my friends are going to be like, who the heck is she behind a closed door?
No, okay. Well, this is why you're going to lead this episode, because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I am not super au fait with the subject, but I find it really interesting. And I think when you talk about a fetish or like fetishism in general, a lot of people are just totally drawn to the really outlandish, scary, kind of like, 50 Shades of Grey kind of
Right.
vibes, so like the bondage and the, it's quite intimidating. But I think there's so many different things that you can do and have fun with, and it doesn't have to be so scary and intimidating.
Yeah.
And I just think it's something that, when you're having sex with a partner, or even just like enjoying yourself and sort of like self-care and, playing with yourself, whatever, however you want to say it, whatever you want to call it, you can still do those things as well. And it's just, I think, getting to know your like sexual vibe and like what you like, what you don't like. And then also with a partner is just like exploring different things. I mean, sex is obviously one of the most amazing things that you can share with somebody. It's very intimate. But some people just like to ramp it up a little bit. Some people are happy with what they're doing, and that's totally fine. Whatever works for you. I think it's important to say that, there's so many different things that you can do and try and enjoy and whatever and explore, but it's what's right for you and what you enjoy. And that's obviously, at the end of it all, the most important thing.
Absolutely. And I think, a lot of people start getting into different forms of play because they've been in a relationship for a long time and they're bored. They're just like, wow, we are really stuck in a rut, aren't we? And not that it's bad what they're doing, but it's like, well, what else is there?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I really like that you said this too, because I think when we hear the word fetish, I mean, I instantly go to like two girls in a cup, that's where I go.
Oh my God, I've not thought about that in a while.
Yeah, like exactly, right? Because it's burned in my brain from when that came up like years ago. I go to like really horrible, like foreign fetish porn, right? Like stuff I've heard throughout the years where I was like, I never needed to know that. Why did someone tell me? But I think that it's important that, fetish doesn't mean that it has to be that level. It can
Absolutely
just be a different type of level. And, so let's start with sort of like, well, let me start with this story first, just to put it in context.
I'm excited.
So I am dating, and I am doing the swiping and all of the things. And, sometimes I think I'm just a little naive. And I'm reading through someone's profile. He's a white dude, just kind of, normal looking white dude, whatever. And I must have seen stuff that I liked. So I swiped, I guess, right on him. And he messages me and he's like, oh, so I guess the vanilla comment didn't scare you off. And I thought, this is how naive I am. I thought, oh, you're like into like girls of color. Oh, sorry. Like, no worries if I'm not your type. And he's like, wait, what? Hold on. Do you know what that means? I'm like, I think so. He's like, do you? It means to like fetish and play and all that. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. Well, like if you're putting that in your profile, like leading with that, like
yeah.
that's like a whole other level. Like if you
Yeah.
have to say it out loud in a profile that's what you're
Yeah.
into,
That's
like
obviously like the forefront of your mind, right?
right, like that's what you're going for. I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta go. So have a great
Is that
life.
the time?
Right. And it's not that like, I'm against anything, but it's just like, my God, if you're leading with that. So that's the level of like knowledge I know. So let's start there. Let's start at someone like me who's like, I don't know.
Well, I think to
What
be
do we need to
honest,
know?
a fetish can be something as simple as like lingerie.
Oh, well,
A
I've got
guy
plenty of
loves a
that.
girl in lingerie, right? And that it could be as simple as that, like, dressing up slightly, with the suspenders and the
Oh,
heels,
the
like
best.
that can be, I mean, a lot of people would think like that's just something that, somebody likes, but actually that probably is a fetish if somebody gets really turned on when they see somebody in lingerie or even like just a specific outfit or heels in
Right.
general. It
Right.
can be as simple as that, or it can be like, spanking, or I mean, honestly, I mean, there's so many different things, like, watching each other, pleasure each other. Like it doesn't have to be so, right, I'm tying you up to the bed or I'm dripping candle wax down you. Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be so outlandish and so,
Right.
I think, frightening to somebody who's really new to it.
Right.
But
And
I
also
think
just hearing you say all of this stuff, I'm like, oh, well, that's all the stuff I've done. I thought that was just normal. So I guess maybe
exactly. And I think
I'm not as
that's like
like,
entry level.
right. Like that I thought was just like normal play.
Yeah.
Again, like my brain goes to two girls in a cup. So keep
Yeah.
going.
So I think actually what's really important, so I think when you're let's talk about, so if you're in a relationship and maybe one of you or both of you are looking to maybe spice things up and you want to just enhance what you're already doing, if you have a great sex life, or if maybe, like you said, you're maybe stuck in a bit of a rut and you want to just do something a little bit different. What I actually had a conversation with a girl on my podcast, all about sexual empowerment and sexual freedom amongst sort of women. But obviously it works both sides, obviously. And what she said to do, and again, like we spoke about on every episode that we've done, comes down to communication always, because I think especially with these kind of things, when you're talking about sex, consent on both sides is obviously very, very important. And what she said you should do with your partner is just one evening, just not even thinking about sort of, not going about to have sex, or you're naked, ready to go, is sit down, maybe over a glass of wine, over dinner, make it a normal conversation, and each write a list of what you're absolutely fuck yes gonna do, and what you, okay, maybe could be, I'm interested, but I'm a little bit nervous. Maybe we could explore. And then you're absolutely, no, never going to happen. Fuck no, not touching it with a barge pole. So I think if you are looking to kind of experiment with your partner and you want to do something different, is to write this list of all the things that you love, the things that turn you on, the things that you don't want to do, the things that really turn you off, and the things that maybe you might give them a go, like maybe after a few glasses of wine, you'd be a little bit more up for it, or like when you're a little bit more comfortable. So have that list, and then you can compare it with your partners. And then if there's things that you both want to try, then obviously it's consensual. You can do it in like a really informed way. You can do your research if you want to, but you can discuss it. Maybe if you want to talk about why the other person wants to do it, why they find it attractive, why it turns them on, and do it, and basically go from there. I think once you both know what you're looking for and what you want to do, then I think that's a good place to start, and you can go from there.
It's such a bonding experience. I mean, communication is absolutely key, and safety, feeling really safe with your partner
Absolutely.
is
It's so
absolutely key
important.
as well. And, it might not just be like, yeah, let's try it. I'm kind of drunk. It might be, I mean, certain things I know I've done in my past, like it took a minute to get to that point. And I
Yeah.
find, when I did, I was like, oh, but I'm ready now to like do that.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not going to say what those things are, but but it really was more enjoyable, and I wasn't, turned off to it because I had a
Mhm.
chance to get used to it, and I felt safe with that partner, and they were
Yeah,
patient and like
exactly.
all of the good things. Um, but it can be so incredibly bonding. I mean, listen, I'm a Scorpio. That says enough, right? Like that's what happens. And it's just, I feel like if you have a strong relationship and then you strengthen your sexual relationship to another level, it actually helps your relationship in a like a 360 kind of a way.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful bonding experience. It can bring in like another honeymoon phase. I mean, there's so many good things that come from strengthening your sexual communication and relationship with each other.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I think just maybe if you're, kind of a beginner, clearly I'm not now. I thought I was, but I don't think I am. Um, yeah, just having these talks, like you said, I think the list is such a great idea.
Yeah, I just think it helps it become a safe place, and
Mhm.
you're kind of opening yourself up to somebody, they're doing the same. And because you're not doing it in like a sexual environment, it's like a normal, like I said, over dinner or whilst you're watching TV or
Yeah.
whatever. And it just helps, because a lot of people, I mean, sex for some people can be a really nerve-wracking thing. And obviously
Right.
getting that intimate with somebody is a big deal. Like it is a big deal. Like I
Mhm.
don't think anyone can say that they have sex and feel 100% confident in what they're doing, how they look. You're always going to be like, am I doing this
Mhm.
okay? Does he think I look okay? Does she think I look okay? Like you want to make sure that everything is perfect, right? But I
Mhm.
just think if you're doing it, and like you said, because it is a bonding experience, you're becoming closer with your partner. And I think, sex should be fun, right?
Yeah,
Anything surrounding sex, during sex, after sex, it should be fun. Because I
sure.
think, sometimes sex, it's not sexy. I think we all know that, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you see it
Yeah.
in the movies. It's not
No.
as pretty as it looks on like screen. And sometimes you have to laugh about certain things. So I just think don't take it too seriously as well,
Mm.
because you just genuinely won't get out alive. Because I think you just, so many things happen and you could be, I mean, I've been in like, I was going to say positions before, but that I don't mean it in that specific way. But I've been in places before where something's happened. I'm just like, oh my God, that's mortifying. I can't believe that's just happened to me. And you obviously just want the ground to just swallow you up.
Right.
But then, like with my boyfriend now, stuff happens and you just laugh about it, even when you're
Mhm.
doing it, because you're just like, that's just really funny. But with
Yeah.
somebody else, you'd be like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I'm never going to be able to see this person again.
Right.
And you just have to, like, you do just have to make sure you're comfortable with somebody and that you're both on the same page and that you're
Mhm.
happy to explore together. And I think that's just what makes it fun too. And like you said about going into like that honeymoon period again and kind of exploring each other in a different way, it adds a different dimension, I think, to the relationship.
I think so too. Um, so I'm interested too. So let's say you're not in a relationship and you are just looking to kind of live out different fetishes and different fantasies in your life with people that you aren't close to.
Mhm.
Um, there's different levels of sort of psychology with this. It can be that like that's all you like to do and that's how you feel safe. It could be
Yeah.
that you're just brand new to this, you've never done that before, but you want to try it,
Mhm.
and you just don't happen to be in a relationship, or maybe you don't want a relationship. There's so many
Mhm.
levels to it. What would you suggest for people to do?
I think again, it's just about being open. So if you're on a night out, so if you have, obviously everyone has certain things that they like to do. So if you're on a night out, you meet somebody, you both decide to go home together, and either they want you to do something that you haven't done before or vice versa, you should just have that conversation and just say, look, I'm kind of into this, and again, it's just about the consent. It's really, really
Yes.
important that both people are always on that same page, and you don't want
Yeah.
to feel pressured or put pressure on somebody if you know it's just not what they want. So I think just, broach the subject if you're kind of, in the middle of foreplay or you're kissing, and just say, look, I really want to do this, or I this is kind of what I'm into. It's just gauge what the reaction is. If you can
Mhm.
tell it's really caught them off guard and they're not ready, then it's probably going to be, a safe no.
Right.
But if maybe it's like they're not really sure, but then as the night goes on, then they kind of get into it, and then you can, like broach the subject again. So I think it's just communication, I think, is really key. And obviously it can be sometimes uncomfortable to have a conversation like that with somebody that you don't know. But I think if you're confident enough to potentially be having a one night stand or to be having sex freely and openly, then you probably have the confidence to say, I'm into this, would you like to partake, and just see what the situation is. But I think it's important not to put any pressure, or if you feel the pressure, then, you don't have to do it.
Absolutely. Because, hold on. Because if you are in that place and you are that confident, I think there's quite a lot of, empathy that you need to have for this partner, especially if you don't know them that well or are just getting to know them. Because it could be the first time they've ever done anything like that. And it could be,
exactly.
It's not like it's off the table, but it's like, whoa, hold on, I'm just not ready tonight.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
maybe a couple more nights more. Okay, maybe. What about, because I do think that it can cross a line. And again, like having consent and communication, so incredibly important. But, what if you do something with your partner, you consented, you're like, okay, cool. And you're just like, wow, like a day or so later, it clicks in like, I don't feel good about doing that, or I certainly don't want to do it again. But they have residual feelings of, what's the word I want to use? Oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't feel good about it anymore, essentially.
I guess like guilt, but guilty perhaps, like, or that kind of
Or
shame,
just
maybe.
maybe some shame. Sure. Just like, just like, oh, I said yes and I was into it at the time, kind of. But now that it's happened, I'm just feeling really disturbed in whichever way that looks like to them. What happens then? Like, obviously you should probably talk to your partner, but if it was kind of a one night stand sort of situation, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
I guess it's, if you're single and it's something that you've done with somebody that you might not see again, or if you're dating them, or if it is in a relationship, I think, again, like something that we've spoken about in previous episodes, is to kind of, ask yourself a few questions as to why you might feel like that. Why has it made you feel a bit uncomfortable? Was it just that person specifically? Was it the act itself which has made you feel, a little uncomfortable or confused? But I think, again, just, if it is with a partner and you try something and you're like, actually, it's just really, really not for me, then that person should respect that. But I think, if you're single and you're having a feeling where you've done something and you just really don't feel good about it, is just remember, like, it's all part of understanding who you are, and, who you are in yourself, who you are sexually. And I think it's really important to kind of go on that journey. There are going to be things, I mean, it's just like life in general, right? You're going to do things that you like, you're going to do things that you don't like, and you learn from it and you go from there. So I think it's, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel guilty. I think, sex is an amazing thing to do, both with somebody and by yourself. I think it's amazing to be able to understand your body and to be able to feel what you can feel when you are having sex. So I think, don't feel bad about it. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel ashamed, because it's a natural thing to do. And if you realize it's just something that you don't like doing, then just don't do it again. Or maybe it could have been that it might have just been with that person. So there's a lot of different factors, I think, that come into it. But I think maybe, whatever it is that you might have done, put that on the back burner for now. And then if you do want to maybe explore it with somebody else at a later date, absolutely do. But if that's going to be on your, your fuck no column, then make sure people in the future know that that's, completely, out of bounds.
Absolutely. I think I'm thinking of like if it triggers something in you like psychologically after the fact. Again, like this is why sex is so powerful, right? It is so much fun. It is so powerful. It is so bonding. I mean, all of it. It's so many different things all wrapped up into one. So I'm thinking if you do feel triggered and something psychologically is bubbling up, whatever that looks like, it's just important to really sit with yourself, maybe even talk to a therapist and just
Yeah,
see what that.
talk to a friend or just somebody that that you can air your feelings with. But I think, yeah, if there is something that has triggered something and it is affecting your mental health, then absolutely reach out to somebody if you feel comfortable to do so, because I think it's important to air those feelings.
Absolutely, because that's kind of the power of sex, and like the beauty of it too is that it can really bring you to different levels in your psyche, in your heart, in your soul. Like it it's like a whoosh sound. um but yeah, it can bring you to different levels in your mind and your heart and your soul, and those are all good things. But if you do run across something that doesn't feel right, I would definitely I would investigate that. If that happened to me, I would be like, okay, why am I feeling these kind of psychological feelings?
Absolutely.
Where
Yeah.
is that really stemming from? Most likely that event just triggered something maybe repressed almost.
Yeah,
um
absolutely. And it can happen because, like you said, I mean, sex can really draw from like the deepest part of your psyche and your emotion, like your emotional health. So I think, yeah, if it does make you feel that way, then it's really important, yeah, to reach out and just make sure. And then also going forward, that if there are potentially other things that might also trigger that same emotion or that same feeling, is just to ensure that you're kind of prepared and you kind of know what to deal with if that does come up again.
Absolutely. Let's talk about having some fun with yourself, because we've talked a lot about partners, but let's talk about exploring your own body and exploring yourself. So many, girls are, when they're growing up, they're trying to figure out what works for them, what makes them come, like all of the stuff. And, some people are great at that and some people just don't do it. But it's the same thing with fetishes. It's like, well, maybe you're interested in it, but you're just like too afraid to try it, even with yourself.
Yeah.
What kind of advice do you have for someone who's in that?
Yeah. I think, again, it's about, you need to really explore yourself. So again, in that podcast I mentioned a little bit earlier, I spoke to this woman who said, like, have a date with yourself. And, if you want to make it nice, like light some candles, get yourself a nice glass of wine, and just explore yourself. So, run your hands like from top to bottom and just really resonate on what feels good and why it feels good, like what it's making you feel like in that moment. And, just, I think it's so important before you do delve into having sex with somebody else is to know what you like. Because I think we've all been in a situation with a partner where they might think they're doing what they think you're going to like, but everyone's different at the end of the day. So I think it's important also then to be able, if you know what you like, you can then vocalize that to somebody else and you can say, this is how I like it. Or if they're there, just be like, a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. Like, so exactly what it is that you enjoy. And I think, like, get involved with toys. Like, I mean, me and my partner use them, and we have a lot of fun with them, because it is just like, I think a lot of people assume that, like, if you're having sex, especially like with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner, that you're using toys, you must have, like, there's something missing. But I think toys can just really enhance it, and it can be like the simplest thing. But I think do that by yourself too. So get yourself a vibrator, and explore that way. And, I think what's so important is you should never rely on somebody else to give you the pleasure that you need or want. So I think it's, a lot of people would assume that you have sex to have an orgasm or come or whatever, but you can do that yourself. You don't need a woman, you don't need a man, you don't need anybody else. You can absolutely do that yourself, and you can make yourself feel as good doing it as you would feel if you were involved with somebody else. So I think it's important to know that you don't need anybody else to do it, and that you're more than capable. You just need to explore and just really sink into the feelings that you have when you're doing it, and just enjoy it. Like, some people will do it as like a self-care thing. People will do it every day before they go to work. It's like a stress reliever. So everyone's doing it for different reasons, and they're getting different feelings and emotions from doing it. But I just think it's so important to be in touch with yourself, because then it makes your sex with somebody else like a million times better.
It's so true. You've just got to come to the table like good, right? You've got to come as a whole person who like really is self-sufficient without that person. I mean, it really just comes back down to just like what makes a good relationship. You've got to have a great relationship with yourself, including having a great sexual relationship with yourself. So you're not trying to, dive into a relationship because you're like, oh gosh, I need to have sex. It's like, my God, you can have great sex by yourself. Like you just told us.
And let's face it, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, like I've had some one night stands where I'm just like, I could have done this myself and a hell of a lot better. And like, I've wasted money, I've wasted time, I've wasted my energy. But, so it's just that kind of thing as well. Like you don't need to go to somebody else because honestly, most of the time, they're not really giving you what you need. So
I completely agree. I mean, that's why I'm kind of a relationship girl because I'm like, you know what? I'm great. You've got to really show up with like your A game to like take my time.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this was awesome. I'm going to put a link in the description below to that podcast. What's it called? The one that you did?
So it was on my one. It's called The Good, the Bad, and the Ghost, and it was all about sexual empowerment.
Okay.
And it's with a girl called Orsa Borf. And she has a Instagram stuff herself. But if you go to that, it's all linked on my page as well. But she's absolutely incredible what she does. And she is just, go and listen to it. Look at her. She's fab.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have that in the description and all of the links to have people find you. Thank you so much again, Sara.
Thank you for having
me. Best. I'll
see you soon. Honestly, it was grateful.